Namaskar, friends. Our today's guest is very special, well known in astrology circles. Even at a time when I started my YouTube journey, there were not many astrologers, but he was still there. And even I used to appreciate and get knowledge from his work, from his channel as well. Now, friends, just because the way the whole world is witnessing tumultuous events, threat of the war, so you cannot say this if you are a well informed person who is having a proper knowledge and update of the way geopolitical and current affairs is going on. You cannot say this thing as very usual or very normal. Like any other astrologer, based on the my knowledge of planetary alignments and concentration, I attempted or tried to give my side of views that on March, when the whole planetary concentration is taking place, how it is going to be shaping up the world order. This is one such term which even the political expert, economy experts are also using now. But do you know this thing that this same shift is being mentioned in our scriptures as well? Like the way you would have heard lot many times Hindu people talking about the different yugas that we are in a Kaliyug and all of that which is happening. It is something which has been written in our scriptures long time back, centuries back, that this is how it is going to be. But even in terms of the way it has been predicted and mentioned in the scriptures, there has been transition. We are actually at a stage of the transition. Now, guys, the concern over here is that even I, by myself, try to get this knowledge first account through internet, through reading different articles, watching few videos, but no one would have actually mapped it or explained it in a very scientific way with giving reference to proper books and all. Now, the good part is that luckily last week only I ran into Abhijeet's recent work over where he explained and he documented all this transition in the yoga as it has been explained in our scriptures in a very scientific rational way. Obviously I got intrigued. I got in touch with him because before as well we have had talked on different topics. And when I got in touch with him, I requested him that Abhijit, can you please come to my channel as well as a guest and give the presentation? Because even in my community, there are like lot many yoga enthusiasts and expert, spiritual expert who are there even in my platform with an intent to get the true authentic knowledge. So we are very fortunate that today Abhijit took out time, and now from this point onwards, he is going to be presenting his work, which he explained in his channel on his platform over here to our audience, to our community as well. So the stage now goes to the Abhijit. Welcome, Abhijit.
Thanks a lot, Nipun. And it's my pleasure to be on your channel and share my insights upon the part of Yuga cycles, because most of the people are not familiar with that. There is a big population, a big chunk of people, particularly in India, and specifically who are more familiar and followers of Hinduism. They are aware of the fact that what yugas are and how they function and everything, but they are not aware of the fact that what are the time durations and what are the ascending cycles, descending cycles, and the tidbits of the yuga in general and how it impacts us. So that was my effort on my channel. Before I made a video upon that, and I'm going to touch on upon a lot of aspects upon that right now, but I have also introduced new things which I have not discussed in that. I have added certain things here which I will try to capture. And at the same time, I'll also discuss the astrological chart, particularly when the transition period starts. So transition period starts next year from 20th March 2025, and it is the date of the vernal equinox. So since the vernal, I will come to this point that why equinox plays a very vital role in the shifting of the yugas, but that is falling next year on this date of 20th March, and that demarcates the start of the transition period, which will be there for next 1200 years. And before moving on, I just want to clarify that people, particularly the people who have a general understanding of the Hindu aspect of the yuga cycles, that Kaliyug, and not only Kaliyug, all four yugas have two cycles, ascending and descending, which I'll explain in a bit. But what I'm saying right now, it means that Kaliyug is not ending. This is a big misconception which I gathered from the last video which I made. Some people were confused about this fact, that it does not mean that Kaliyug ends. It means that Kaliyug is entering into a new ascending phase, and it also shows that it is going to enter into a big, chaotic, long period of gradual transition, which will not be very easy. It will be destructive, chaotic initially, which will later lay the foundations for a much better civilized society. And it will not happen overnight. It will be a long period. I'll tell all these things later, but this is one point which I thought that I should clarify before moving on further, so that no confusion remains in the people's minds. So I'll now share the chart, the slides first, and then we will proceed with the chart of the Ascension. Okay, so now you can see here that first, before moving on, I'll discuss the misconceptions which people have in their minds regarding the yugas. So first of all, the main problem is the inflated yuga time durations. People mostly, and see, there are 4 yugas. Yugas are the big timelines upon which the overall civilization functions. So there are 4 yugas: Satyuga, Treta, Dwapar, and Kaliyuga. Right now we are running Kaliyuga, and the time durations which have been mentioned in the classical Puranas, in Hindu scriptures, the yuga durations are like Kaliyuga is 432,000 years, and then Dwapar is 864,000, and so on. So what happens here is that they have inflated the numbers of the years too much, and this has happened by multiplying with a factor of 360, and this becomes a big problem, because when we say that and this has happened over a period of time, because that also plays a very big role in bringing this drastic confusion among people's minds right now. And understand, I was one of them. I was one of those people who used to think that, okay, Kaliyuga is just in the very beginning stage, nascent stage, and a lot of more years are going to come by, and it's going to be really bad later. And now I learned, and I researched and came to a conclusion that no, it is not true, that it is not a big number of 432,000 years, and the other yugas are also not of that great number. And somewhere down the line in the historical period, somewhere somebody multiplied the actual time duration by a factor of 360. And if you look at the element, means the proper aspect, it has been described specifically in the Mahabharata as well as Manusmriti, both these texts, where the yuga cycle has been taken as 12,000 years, and 12,000 in the ascending cycle and 12,000 in the descending cycle. So total making up to 24,000 years. Now, what they state here is that they are taking as Divya Varsha. Divya means divine year. Now, there was a confusion that instead of taking the divine year as a description of a proper cosmic cycle, people thought that it is a description of some deva, some different deva loka, like there are demigods, and with respect to them, their 1 year is equivalent to 360 human years. So they multiplied that figure of 12,000 by 360 and got this ridiculous number. So the problem here is that people still think that, okay, that was true, and this is incorrect totally. And hence you have to understand that yugas are there, and there are 4 yugas, but at the same time the time durations are highly inflated by a factor of 360, which is totally wrong. Next point, which is also a misconception, is that yugas are of unequal durations. So it does not mean that it means the ratio, if you see 4:3:1, 4:3:2:1, this is the ratio. So Kaliyuga is 1, then twice is Dwapar, then thrice is Treta, then the quadruple is Satyuga, and that is not true at all. So This was also taken into account. There were, and particularly by Indian astronomers, people are not familiar with that, Aryabhatta and Paulish. So Aryabhatta and Paulish, they are the two great astronomers in India who also abided, and they actually said that the yugas are not of unequal durations in this particular 4 is to 3 is to 2 is to 1 ratio. They are equal in number. So and not only that, apart from the writings of Aryabhatta and Paulish, Surya Siddhanta, that also depicts the same things. And Surya Siddhanta, the Manu Smriti does not describe the equal durations part or the Mahabharata, but they describe the 12,000 year duration. So, and not only this, apart from the Hindu culture and Indian civilization, if you look at the global scale, like the Greek civilization, the Roman civilization, Romak Siddhanta was there. So these texts also, they and every region had its own mythology, had its own culture, and more or less you will come across the similar findings across all of the globe. So it also plays a big role in letting us know that the yugas, first of all, were not that huge in number, but also they are not of unequal durations. They are equal in duration at the same time, which is 3,000 years. Next will be that people, this is another misconception, that people expect that yugas are moving, okay, one way down the line. So Satyuga, then Treta, then Dwapar, and Kaliyuga, and then going back again. So what happens that people think that, okay, there will be sudden shift all of a sudden overnight, and each yuga is going, means right now let's suppose Kaliyuga is going on, and people think that, okay, some or the other way it will end abruptly and right the next day Satyuga starts. That is not how it works. If you look just from the basic elements of the cosmos, do you see immediate transition or gradual transition? Even in the transition from day to night, it is gradual, it is not immediate. So we see the dusk and the dawn before the night and the day. So that is the period of transition. The seasons also, they change gradually. It is not like summer ends and automatically winter starts. Gradual transition, autumn comes and gradual transition happens to winter and so on. So if the nature also, like we see and we live around, is going in a transitional phase on a regular basis, do you think that yuga is going to end, one yuga is going to end and the next one is going to start the next day just like that? It does not happen that way. It is going to be through a long period of transition. It does not happen overnight. And people have this misconception. So you have to know that each yuga goes through a long period of gradual transition to pave the way for the next one to come upon. So it lays the foundation for the next one. Let's suppose we have to go from Kaliyuga to Dwapar. So Kaliyuga, in its ending phase, it is going to manifest such things so that the Dwapar takes over later on. It has to build the foundation for the next yuga to come in. It does not happen like right now Kaliyuga is going on, all of a sudden everything ends and the Dwapar starts. And not only this, let's suppose if we have God Krishna, he lived in the ending phase of Dwapar. Did Dwapar immediately ended and Kaliyug started all of a sudden? No. It started gradually. There are many stories of King Parikshit and the manifestation of Kaliyug and their dialogue in Bhagavad Puran and Mahabharata. But the point I'm mentioning here is that just looking back in the history as well, we come across this fact that the Kaliyug itself came through transition from the ending phase of Dwapar. It did not happen immediately. It was gradual. So why do you think that immediately after Kaliyug ends, all of a sudden Dwapar starts? It does not work that way. So that is another misconception. And next will be that this is the last one. People don't have any awareness that yuga cycles go into phases of ascension and descension. They think that, okay, it is a long period and Kaliyug is very, very bad and utterly negative, and the worst yuga of all. Technically, it is the least of all, I'll say, not the worst of all, but yes, the least of all, and it has a lot of problems in it. But if you look at the foundational pillars, Kaliyug act as a foundational pillar of for other yugas to set on. If let's suppose Kaliyug does not exist, you cannot understand, you cannot go directly at 100. You have to start from zero somewhere, no? You have to start from zero. So Kaliyug is that point of zeroness. It starts and then it paves the way for further. Let's suppose Satyug is 100 and Kaliyug is 0. So without 0 you cannot reach 100. So it's like that gradual phase is coming upon. So you should not think that, okay, Kaliyug is no doubt the least of all, but it does not mean that it is the worst of all everything. It has its problems and everything. We will discuss this in a bit. But this is also a thing which you have to understand, that every yuga has ascending and descending cycle. Ascending means that the ascending of what? The ascension of, first of all, the inner consciousness and self-awareness within the humans. That is first. So there are two parameters which act as the measurement points for a yuga. So one is the level of self-awareness and consciousness within the creature, within the human being. And second is the part of dharma, and third is the part of advancements, technological civilization advancements. So if you look at Kaliyuga, so the level of self-consciousness, awareness and dharma are at their worst. They are very less. They are zero, or they are near to zero, and gradually they start to rise. So what happens here is that the level of dharma is still not going to rise in Kaliyuga. Dharma means morality, ethics, values, principles, duty, commitment, sincerity. That is dharma. The level of inner self-awareness, the consciousness, that is not going to be really great in Kaliyuga. What will happen is that the material consciousness will function in such a way that human will be able to gather greater understanding of the logics and laws of nature, so that they are able to start a decent enough civilization. And that we have done, particularly in the past century. Majority of our growth in terms of civilization has happened in the last century, in the 20th century. The great minds of science, they came in last century only, whether it was Niels Bohr, Max Planck, Faraday, or Einstein, or Oppenheimer, or Feynman, anybody, you just take a name. These people, they have laid the foundation of the advancement, the technological infrastructure, the engineering, the science, the development which we see around nowadays in front of us. All their work has paved the way for us to live in this current day and age. And why did that happen? Because of the ascension. If we look at in the super aspect of the timeline means that, for example, planets on a individualistic scale, everybody has a horoscope. So on the particular day, you have a date of birth, a time of birth, and a place of birth, and you construct your own horoscope. So planets influence you, your life, your personality, and everything. In the same way, the horoscopes are there for individual countries as well. How those countries are going to function, and how their time periods are going to go, and good or bad, whatever. So we can predict from their own horoscopes of the individual countries that how the overall timeline is going to go for that entire nation. And similarly, yuga happens to be for whole of earth, that how the overall pattern is going to go during this particular yuga, that how the civilization will go, how the development will be, how the humans are going to be, how the life is going to be. Everything is going to be determined by the yuga which we are running through. So, like I said, that every yuga runs in ascending and descending cycle. So, ascending means the level of consciousness and dharma are increasing, and which in turn is going to create positive use of technology. Remember, technology does not show us that we are developed. No. What makes us developed is that we are capable enough to handle that technology. That is what matters. So if we have a great technology available to us and we are yet incapable to handle it, we are yet animalistic, we are yet incapable to uh, to I'll say create peace among each other, then even if we have technology, we are still at base levels. We are not humans in general. The dharma is still at zero level. That is what Kaliyuga is. So Kaliyuga means technologically you can be advanced, but the level of dharma, the consciousness, the things which I mentioned, the attributes, they are not going to be that great. And for them to improve, because if we have to move towards ascension means after Kali Yuga, it has to pave the way for next Yuga, that is Dwapar. So for that, the level of awareness increases gradually, but that level of awareness cannot increase with some great devastation, with some great destruction, which shocks the human mind, which shocks the mankind and forces the mankind to think in depth that why you are here, some kind of great existential crisis everybody should face, so that they are able to understand that why this life has been given to us, that kind of thing. So that is what transition means. So here and so this is what ascending cycle is. And what is descending? The descending means the levels are going down. So let's suppose Satyug is perfection, everything is like technologically also it is advanced, and on the level of consciousness and dharma also everything is at its peak. And what happens here is that the part that in descending cycle, what happens that gradually the descension happens, means the gradual loss of consciousness is happening, the gradual loss of dharma is happening, and people who used to have a lot of technological advancements which we right now cannot even imagine, they are also going down. Let's suppose, just to give you a small example, in just 30 years back or 35 years back, nobody would have imagined that we will live in this day and age of social media and internet and everything, that the communication will be so huge and very easy. It was beyond imagination, but yet we are here living this thing in this day and age. So in the same way, some things are really beyond our imagination, but it does not mean that they are not going to be real. They are going to be a reality later. Whether you are able to imagine it right now or not, it does not matter. So in the same way, the further yugas, Dwapar, Treta, Satyug, they had tremendous elements of advanced scale technologies, which right now which are so far fetched that we cannot even imagine them. That kind of thing I'm talking about. And one more thing, that the more level of depth, the more level of consciousness is within you, the more self-awareness is within you, the more you are able to interact with the universe. Everything, information is lying everywhere in the air. But whether you have that ability to gather it or not, whether you have that ability, that perception to gather it or not, and that comes through self-awareness. If that is there, then only people gather ideas, they gather path breaking theories, and that is how we see Newtons and Einsteins and Feynmans and such great people, or Schrodinger's, or any other great person in any other field, because they were like that and they had that levels of higher consciousness. We owe our current development to these people. That is what I am mentioning. And this has happened because of, if we look at the planetary alignments and the yuga cycles, you'll come across that, yes, why this happens? Why is this happening right now? So this is the last misconception which I had to discuss. Now you can refer to the books Yuga Shift by Mr. Abhijeet Mishra and the Holy Science by Sri Yukteswar for further understanding about the Yuga cycles. Okay. Now I'll explain the Yuga cycle. Very briefly, we'll take into account that there are 4 yugas, like I said to you, totally starting from Satyug, then Dwapar, then Treta, then Dwapar, then Kaliyug. And next, the total cycle is not of that great figure which I mentioned, 432,000 years and all that. It's all ridiculous. Main thing here is the total cycle of these 4 yugas is of 25,800 years, with the periods of ascending and descending cycles in each yuga, along with transition periods between the 2 yugas. That is how it functions. And these, like I said, that these transition time periods are very chaotic, and they pave the way for the upcoming yuga to come upon. And now see that this yuga cycle, how it is calculated. So this yuga cycle is same as the Earth's precession cycle. So what happens now, the vernal equinox comes into role, that why that date which is falling, vernal equinox is falling on 20th March next year. So why vernal equinox is important? Because it is relevant for Earth's precession cycle. So the position of vernal equinox, equinox means when when the Earth's rotational axis is directly perpendicular to the Sun-Earth line, means Earth is not either going towards the Sun or away from the Sun. It's directly perpendicular. That point is equinox. And it happens on 2 occasions in a year. One we call the vernal equinox or the spring equinox in March, and another is autumnal equinox in September. So the position of vernal equinox, Sun, relative to the fixed stars of the zodiac. The zodiac is fixed. It changes very slowly at a rate of 1 degree every 71.6 years. And it completes this 360-degree circle around the zodiac in 25,800 years. In the current present epoch, the Yuga, the vernal equinox is Sun is very close to Pisces, beginning of Pisces, and it goes in reverse direction, retrograde motion. So from Pisces to Aquarius, then Capricorn, so on. So that is how it progresses. Now, very soon, what will happen but not right now, in few decades, equinox Sun, right now it is in Pisces, it will move to Aquarius. In the same way, equinox gradually shifts its position relative to fixed stars, like I said, every 71.67 years, is spending roughly 21,050 years in each constellation, in each sign. And that is called as an astrological age. The human civilization lives through 12 astrological ages in the course of 25,800 year precession cycle. And to come to this fact, this calculation, it has also been mentioned in Surya Siddhanta. Surya Siddhanta actually states that the rate of 1 degree every 71.6 years that has been discussed, Surya Siddhanta was very close. It is stated that approximately 54 arc minutes per year is the shift of Sun in the zodiac. To cover 1 degree, it approximately takes what? To cover 360 degrees, it approximately takes 24,000 years. So the 24,000 year Yuga cycle, which comes out, Surya Siddhanta is one of the texts which also shows that. So Surya Siddhanta is one of them, Manu Smriti is one of them, Mahabharata is also one of them. And like I said, you read the books which I mentioned, everything has been covered in them in much more detail. And there has been a change. People who have read The Holy Science by Sri Yukteswar, Paramhansa Yogananda's guru, so he has used 24,000 year cycle. Now 24,000 year was very close, okay, and it does not mean it is wrong, but the precession cycle, because he has also used precession in his book. He has explained the precession cycle and everything, but he has used the number of 24,000. Technically, it is not 24,000. It is actually 25,800 years, which has been explained in the Yuga Shift book by Abhijeet Mishra. So how it is exactly same, means the precession cycle of Earth is exactly same as Yuga cycle. It has been much explained in detail, in depth in that book. You can refer to that. Now, this is the zodiac constellation which I was explaining. So sun moves around in each or in the orbit gradually with 1 degree shift, like I said. And right now we are in Pisces, and then we will move in Aquarius and everything. Then this is the Yuga cycle. This is what I'm mentioning. So if you see, the Yuga cycle is in ascending phase. So first you see that each Yuga is of equal duration, 3,000 years. 3,000 years. And this has been taken from the book Yuga Shift only. Now you can see that the transition phases between each Yuga is 300 years. 300 years. There are only two transition phases which are longer in duration of 1200 years. One is between Satyuga and Treta, and one is between Kaliyuga and Dwapar. So right now we are standing at the Kaliyuga part, where it is entering into transition, moving towards Dwapar, is starting the 1200 year transition phase. What does it mean? It does not mean Kaliyuga ends. People who are thinking that, okay, I am saying Kaliyuga ends. No, it does not end. It does not end. It means that it is going into a big chaotic transition phase which you are going to experience in upcoming years. So that is what it states. And then it will pave the way for Dwapar Yuga to come upon, which will not be right now. It will be after 1200 years. So this is the Yuga cycle which has been taken here. So generally 300 year duration is there, but there are two specific transition periods which are of greater duration of 1200 years and making up to total of 25,800 years Yuga cycle. So like I said, people who are interested, you can read the book. Now on 20th March 2025, equinox will fall, which will mark the end of Kaliyug's descending cycle. Like I said, not the end of Kaliyug, end of descending cycle of Kaliyug. And what does it mean by descending cycle? Descending means the gradual decay of consciousness, gradual loss of dharma, and people who are blindly ignorant, and the gradual increase in technology that has happened. If you just refer back, like I said, in the past century itself, you don't go back much further. If you go back much further, you will see how long we have come. But if you just see that how much advancement, if the consciousness would not have risen, right now the development which you are seeing around you and the greater developments which you are going to see in future, they would not have been there if the consciousness would not have risen. It has risen. It has not risen the level of dharma. There is a difference. You can be intellectual, you can be intelligent, you can be quite knowledgeable, but to be wise, that is entirely different thing. To be moralistic, that is entirely different thing. So I am talking about the level of dharma will be bad, the level of self-awareness will be bad, but the level of material consciousness, the level of intelligence, the level of logic, the level of analysis, the level of detail, observation, generating new ideas and scientific revolutions, that is going to increase, and that has increased in the past. It has increased so far, and that is why right now we are living in this day and age, and upcoming age is going to be much more technologically advanced than what we are living right now. So it shows that intellectually, materially, on the level of knowledge, we have gathered a lot of advancement, but it does not mean that we have become better human beings. It does not mean that we have gained morality. It does not mean that we have gained kindness, empathy, compassion. It does not mean that we have gathered an element of non-violent coexistence. That has not happened, and it is not going to happen easily. So when I say the level of consciousness, self-awareness, it will increase gradually, but only by some sudden shock, and that shock cannot come without destruction. And naturally also, if you just see, if you give Let's suppose if you give a nuclear weapon to a monkey, what will he do? He will destroy himself. And that is what we are. So the problem is that we have gained technology, we have gained superiority there, but we have become our own enemy. And that is what it states, that we cannot handle much greater technology which will be later available in further yugas. For that you need some level of self-consciousness, some morality, otherwise you will destroy entire planet or solar system. That kind of thing will happen. So here it shows that Kaliyug's entire descending cycle of consciousness will end, and it will start the long gradual period of transition of 1200 years, during which our planet will be dramatically altered beyond recognition, and outlines of new civilization will be manifested, okay, leading to the gradual rise of dharma, self-awareness. And the environment also, we have destroyed the environment as well. It will continue to be going down in upcoming years, but it will also be restored only after destruction. Okay. Also, like I said, Guru, Jupiter is going to become Atichari for the next 8 years, from 2025 for next 8 years. So Atichari means a particular planet becomes more, it covers its entire zodiac at a faster pace rather than its usual course. So Jupiter takes 12 years. Now it is becoming Atichari, so it will cover it in 8 years. So Atichari Guru is never considered good. It brings major transformations and negative impacts all across the globe. It is never considered favorable. So that also is falling in line with the vernal equinox, and the events, majority events of change and everything will happen likely in the next 20-30 years. Okay, so these are the things which I wanted to explain. Now I will just cover the part of astrological chart which of that date of vernal equinox, from which we will understand that what kind of good and bad changes we can expect in this period of transition. So you can see here that this is the chart, astrological chart of that date of vernal equinox, 20th March 2025. 1431 is the time when it is falling, means happening, and we have made this, that now from this we will see that what kind of changes we can expect and what kind of things we can see in the upcoming transition period. Now first I will cover the good part and then the bad part. Okay, so in this case, the good part which we will expect, a lot of things. First of all, the technological rise, and that is going to happen. Now before moving on, I just want to clarify certain things, then we will move ahead. If you see in this chart, the majority impact there is of two planets. One is Saturn and another is Ketu. Now why? Because if you see, the ascendant is falling in Saturn's nakshatra Pushya. Moon is in Saturn's nakshatra, which is ascendant lord in Anuradha, Saturn's nakshatra, aspected by Saturn as well. Sun, the equinox of Sun, which is in Pisces, is happening in Uttar Bhadrapada, Saturn's nakshatra. So Sun, Moon, ascendant lord and ascendant, everybody is under the control of Saturn, influence of Saturn. Now Saturn's primary influence, and if you see the dasha, Saturn is going to be the starting phase of the dasha. Okay, if you take 20th March 25, so Saturn will be the initial dasha period. So sure. Saturn here is the main planet which is impacting this horoscope. And if you see, Saturn is 8th lord in the 8th house. For Cancer ascendant, Saturn is a malefic, a big marak, and 8th house is the house of changes, transformations, upheavals, and destruction and death, and research and analysis and development. And 8th house is also in terms of mundane astrology, or not only mundane but in a spiritual life, 8th house is also the house of tapasya, occult practices, sadhana, austerity, everything. So Saturn is going, and one more thing you have to understand, that Saturn is a destructor of ego. Saturn hates Moon and Sun, because Sun is ego. Ego means what you think you are but you are not. your false identity. Saturn is the planet which shows you that you are not what you think. You think that you are this great person who around whom the world revolves. No. Saturn destroys all false egos of people, and Saturn introduces them to great existential crisis, meaninglessness, hopelessness. It shows you that you are vulnerable, powerless, helpless, and insignificant in the face of nature. Understand that you are not what you think you are, and that is what it shows. It makes you or forces you to come face to face with reality. And that is why it torments. That is why people get depressed. They face a lot of mental problems, because Saturn forces them to accept the reality instead of living in their bubbles and denial. So if you see that Sun, ascendant Lord Moon is your mind as well, and Saturn is 8th Lord in 8th house. Personality transformation. It will force the population around the globe gradually to go through these individual scenarios or circumstances where you feel that you are not the doer. Nature will show you literally that don't think that you are the doer. Nature is extremely powerful. It has given you life, it has given you body, it has given you everything. And it has also given you this stupid notion that what you believe that I am the doer. That is how powerful the nature is. Maya is. So Saturn is going to teach you that at least focus on inner reality. You are pure consciousness. So what it means here is that people who are already somewhat on a spiritual path and who have genuine inclination towards religion, spirituality, philosophy, knowing thyself, they have that kind of attitude. They are not really narcissistic, blind, ignorant, hedonistic, materialistic person. For them, this age of transition will be very, I'll not say easy, but it will be comparatively quite smooth. Quite smooth. For them. For people who are not of that aspect at all, they are contrary, completely opposite. For them, it will be hellish. And that is what Saturn represents. Next point, if you see, Ketu's influence. Ketu is also another planet which is controlling this chart tremendously. Why? Because if you look at that, Ketu is, first of all, the equinox is happening on Rahu-Ketu axis. Sun and Rahu, these are happening on Pisces and Virgo. Now, Ketu is aspected by 6 planets: Mars, Jupiter, Mercury, Venus, Sun, Rahu, and Saturn. Sun, these 4, and Jupiter and Mars. So, total 6 planets are looking at Ketu. And another point, since we are looking at vernal equinox, so Sun is in Pisces, astrological age of Pisces. So, what happens that Sun, who is in Sun's nakshatra? Ketu is in Sun's nakshatra. Ketu is in Sun's nakshatra. So Ketu is going to be impacting the pattern in this scenario of transition. And one more thing, if you look at Moon is in Scorpio. Scorpio is ruled by Mars as well as Ketu. Scorpio is ruled by Mars as well as Ketu. So what happens that Ketu is also playing a very vital role along with Saturn to participate and pave the way for upcoming yuga and the transition phase. And like people who are familiar with astrology, somewhat Saturn and Ketu are planets of detachment, distance, isolation, change, transformation, sudden events, and any gradual death or decay. And they also are the planets which show I'll say overthrow of the existing rotten cultures or societies to pave the way for new things to come upon. But Ketu, remember, Ketu like Mars and Ketu are destruction. Ketu is mass destruction. Ketu is much greater in capacity than Mars when it comes to destruction. Ketu represents nuclear weapons. Mars does not represent nuclear weapons. So Ketu is going to be, first of all, cleansing the things. So that is why I say that this is the age of Ketu and Saturn. It is the age of cleansing, and it will cleanse and then it will pave the way. And when I say cleanse, now it means that initially it is going to create a lot of problems first. It's not going to be an easy period. It's going to be a very difficult time. And then gradually, as it shifts over years, then we see, okay, the things are becoming better, but it's not going to be immediate. It's going to be quite long. Okay. And sadly, in our lifetimes, we are going to see the difficult years, not the good years easily. Now, if we look at the good part, first of all, the which I mentioned, that first of all, it will help people who are already, first of all, people who have such capacity of what? Spiritual awakening, self-inquiry, philosophical insight, and gradual spiritual inclination is there. So even if right now, because individual chart also plays a role. I have seen many cases where people at certain stages in their life, they are very materialistic and they think that, okay, I have to do this and this and this. They have ambitions and everything like normal people. But some or the other way, some things happen, some immediate changes happen, some event happens which triggers that big shift in personality, and it forces them to move towards the path of its spiritual life and self-inquiry. I've seen this in many cases. So people who have such kind of things going on in their horoscopes and they are running through those time periods, for them, as well as people who are already in this path, of philosophy, religion, spirituality and everything, you will see that sudden rise in self-awareness, spiritual inquiry, existential crisis, seeking meaning and purpose of life will enhance. The rise of yoga, occult practices, jyotish, tantra, bhakti, darshan, it will enhance. People who have that capacity of intuition, that will enhance. Not everybody has that capacity of intuition. I'm talking about people who have that. For them, so intuition, capacity of intuition. Kundalini awakening, that will also happen for people who have that. There are yogas for that. There are particular combinations in the individual charts. So that also show that, okay, it can help, because Ketu is Kundalini Shakti. It is falling in Kanya, Virgo and Pisces. Pisces is the sign, Sun, Venus, Mercury, Rahu in Pisces. And where it is falling? In the 9th house. 9th house is spiritual life, religion, philosophy, gurus, higher learning, wisdom, superior knowledge. That is what 9th house is. And Rahu, Ketu are Kundalini Shakti. Moon in Aquarius. Aquarius is also the sign of transformation, sadhana, tapasya, all these things. And particularly Scorpio and Anuradha, it shows Kundalini Shakti. So people who have that capacity, it comes through prarabdha, means past life actions, not just like that. It is not like you can attain it. It has to come through past life. So that is that will also enhance. And then what happens? That Ketu and Saturn are detachment and renunciation. So people who are already in this path or will join in this path gradually because of their individual life circumstances, so gradual detachment will prevail. That, okay, the world is not the end goal. The everything which we were seeking is not the end goal. So reduction in what? Ignorance. Ajnana will reduce. Jnana will improve. But for those people who are in these pathways or who have these combinations, not for everybody, because majority population will go through that part of big issues which I'll discuss. They are negative in element. Next point here will be that like I said, that these planets, they move you towards the spiritual pathway through any sudden event. It can be anything. It can be death of a closed one, or loss of any kind, or fear, anxiety, suffering, depression, trauma, abuse, anything. But it forces you to go within and inquire, that kind of thing. So that is what Saturn and Ketu are. Moon debilitated shows that. Now, another point will be Ketu in Uttar Phalguni. Uttar Phalguni is also the nakshatra of connection with the divine. It represents that. So that is another thing. And if we see 9th house as gurus and teachers, Ketu is ascetics and monks. So it will not be a surprise that if we see rise in spiritual movements, or people, genuine people. I'm not talking about hypocrite babas and charlatans. I'm talking about genuine people who have reached the stage of enlightenment themselves, because such people, they don't come in society, they don't want to, they don't want to who have reached that level, they don't want to come in society and interact with common public. But it can become evident that the nature motivates them, forces them to come out and share the wisdom and guide population in the long run. And it can be seen throughout the world. That is another point which we can expect, because spiritual life, in spiritual life, you need a guide, you need a guru, you need a teacher. You cannot just start on your own. Okay, so it's like that. So that can also be seen. Then it can also show Ketu and Saturn, 8th house is mysteries and hidden things, and Ketu is also mysteries and hidden things, and Moon in Scorpio, mysteries and hidden things. So Pisces also same thing. So what it shows, that searching or contact or finding of alien life or civilizations or any kind of secrets which government hid from their from the masses, and they are coming out. Release of a lot of confidential top secrets across the world, that can be seen. And not only this, like I said, space exploration and everything is there. So we can expect great I'll say breakthroughs in coming in gathering any contact or evidences for life outside earth as well. So that kind of thing can be seen. Or it can also pave the way for uncovering any past civilizations which have not been discovered so far. And they can be underwater also, because why? Because water is playing a very vital role here. See, Cancer is water, Moon is water, falling in Scorpio, which is a water sign. Sun is in Pisces, which is again a water sign. Pisces is deep dark waters. So water is also playing a vital role. So that is another point. Next point will be the high rise in technology, science and engineering with tremendous growth in many areas, whether it is physics, biology, medicine, any stream, whatever you get. All streams of science, engineering, technology. Simple reason, Saturn is engineering, science and technology. Ninth house is the house of innovation, research. 8th house and 9th house both represent innovation, research, new knowledge, ideas, inventions. That is all. So it shows that high rise in technology can be seen, particularly high speed communication. And we have witnessed this. In the past century, we have witnessed this. So communication, we didn't had telephones before that. And telephones came, telegraph came, then now we are in this day and age of social media and easy access. We are right now connecting through 2 different continents, and which would have not
Yes.
been possible in past at all. And we can see that how far we have come, and we will go far away from this position as well. Why? Because third house, Ketu, third house is communication, third house is speech, and Ketu is sitting there. And understand, Venus, Mercury, Mars, Saturn and Ketu are planets of IT, electronics, telecom, networking, communication, aviation, space science. They control that. So they show that tremendous growth and rise in high speed communication, not only on the planet, but interplanetary, beyond solar system, and some part of galactic as well. Total galactic communication, I don't think Kaliyug will have. It can happen later when Dwapar starts, but not in Kaliyug. Then another will be high speed transportation. Same thing, communication also means means of transport. So transportation we already have, but let's suppose the speed becomes quite great. So we are able to reach, let's suppose I have to go to America from India, and I can cover that distance in a very less time as compared to right now. Let's suppose in 1 hour or some minutes, we can reach that aspect as well. Then space travel will become common. Space travel, high, very, very, I'll say, tremendous growth and research and cutting edge technologies coming up in the field of robotics, AI, AR, VR, human AI interfaces, and remarkable growth and research and development in medicine and healthcare. By because Moon, Scorpio, water signs, Sun in Pisces, 8th house, Ketu are all medicine. Jupiter, medicine, healthcare. Ketu is medicine itself. Virgo is the sign of medicine. So it shows that quite a lot of improvement in healthcare can be seen. Vaccines and treatments for currently incurable diseases, genetic diseases or cancers even. We can expect that. And obviously it will prolong the lifespan of mankind. And we also understand from the scriptures that in the past yugas, people used to have great lifespans as compared to the lifespan of a normal Kaliyug person. Average lifespan right now is what? Approximately 65, 70 years. And if we look at in the past yugas, according to the scriptures, it was like in Dwapar itself, Krishna lived for 125, which was very less as compared to the Rati Yuga. And many other rishis, and they were like 400, 500 years like that. So it seems far-fetched because we don't have that kind of technology or what kind of body to hold. But like I said, it does not mean that if you cannot imagine it, it is not possible. It is your limitation of your own imagination that inhibits you to even imagine the reality which is going to be in future. So in this case, it also shows that prolonging the life of mankind and gradual growth in the lifespan, living beyond 100 will become quite common. And new, I'll say, new age reproduction processes will be coming upon, because Moon is in fifth house is fertility, fifth house is children. So we can expect a gradual big cutting edge growth in terms of stem cell research and cure of uncurable diseases, and also reproductive processes, particularly outside the human body. Then also it can show quite a lot of research, development, knowledge and exploration in the field of physics and quantum physics, and also the part of electricity generation. Why? Because Sun is electricity, power, energy. Ketu and Sun are nuclear energy. So we can expect that shift of right now we are dependent on fossil fuels, coal, oil, gas and everything. Shift from the fossil fuels to nuclear power, and using the power of star. Sun is our star. So using the power of our star for electricity and other requirements. And also the power of water, because they are falling in water signs. Moon is water. Water, power of the sun and power of water. So water, and particularly I think hydrogen can play a big role in later replacement of these fuels and everything. Then nuclear power also can become quite common and efficient. Right now it is there, but not that common. It can become quite common and much more advanced and efficient as compared to current times. Then also it can show detection or creation of new chemical elements, creating less dependency on iron, coal, oil, gas. That is another point. So these are the positive things, and also it can show radical change in education system. Fifth house is education, ninth house is education, learning, wisdom, everything. The education system right now, what it is, it will change radical over a period of time throughout the globe. Then, so these are the positive parts. Okay. Now we'll talk about the negative things, what we can expect. So first of all, what we can expect here is that most population, like I said, advance technologically, we will advance, and we have been seeing that, witnessing that so far in the recent years and in the past century. But what we have not seen is that people are still blindly ignorant. The adharma is prevailing. Dharma is not there. Adharma is still there. Cunningness, immorality, unethical behavior, corruption, greed, lies, manipulation, selfishness, violence, all these things, they constitute adharma, and this makes rotten societies. This corrupts the human being. No matter how technologically advanced you are, you will become your own enemy, and that is what we are in right now, current situation. So majority part, we will see that I said that okay, we will advance on technological front, but we will also, since we don't have that level of consciousness and self-awareness, the dharma is still at its lowest, and that does not lead to further yuga ascension. So in order to see the rise in dharma, what will happen? The destruction has to come first. Without destruction, that shock will not happen. That shock which forces the person internally, forces you to awake and think about great questions and think beyond your bubble. It cannot come through instability, through devastation, and not without any loss. It has to be that way, and that is the law of nature. Now, first thing what we will see here is major climate changes. Because everything is falling in water sign. The water is already very fragile. Water is already moving. And if what happens, major climate changes can be seen, which also can show shift in Earth's rotational axis. Earth's rotational axis over a period of time will shift, and it has already shifted. If we look at the researches, I think it has shifted around 30 inches in the past 20 years. So that is how it has been. And gradually what will happen, since the part of this water is activating, so first thing will be the rise in the level of sea. Melting of permafrost regions, and high heat, because Ketu is also fiery planet, so it will show high heat. Sun is fire, Mars is looking at it. So what happens, that heat rises, to which if the heat rises, what will happen? Water level will rise, everything will melt. The melting of permafrost regions, and we are already seeing that in many regions big climate changes are happening. Polar ice caps are melting tremendously at a greater stage, and Antarctica, which is permafrost region, is having vegetation now which has never been witnessed in a long time. And it also can show many cities or countries will be lost due to submergence underwater, particularly who have high affinity or proneness to drown underwater. Such cities will be lost. Then natural calamities or of catastrophic proportions can be seen, particularly tsunamis, earthquakes, hurricanes, storms, tornadoes, volcanic eruptions, and even cosmic events where some impact of asteroids, meteors, comets are creating some destruction or a big impact upon the earth. I'm not talking about big destruction like earth is gone, not like that. It's like some kind of indirect influence of these cosmic celestial bodies, which can impact the earth's environment. And it can also represent major changes in sea and marine life, and sudden mishaps at sea and accidents. So these are the things on climate scale. Next point will be on the level of now moon is mind. Now see how the mental aspect will function of people. So positive, I have told you, people who have a spiritual capacity, for them the things will be easy and obviously in the forward upward direction. But for people who are not at all of that mentality, what will happen? High fear, low self-esteem, anxiety will rise, panic will rise, emotional instability, fragile egos, no concentration, poor attention span, poor capacity to think, indecisiveness. Person will become big slave of technology, rise in tremendous mental disorders gradually, and problem will be that gradually people will start to normalize the abnormal destructive thinking or behavior in the name of modernity. That is how it functions, and this is the really pathetic condition we are going to enter now. And if you see, we have been already witnessing these things in the past century. The wars, World War One happened, World War Two happened, many other, Korean War happened, Vietnam War happened, and in India also, India Pakistan War happened, Bangladesh War happened, many things happened. So wars have created this destruction. Then the modern culture and everything. This mental health part which I am discussing, it has already been there. It will escalate. It will escalate. Then another point will be that addictions will grow. Addictions are already there because Sun, Rahu, and debilitated Moon easily show addictions. So addictions can be seen, any kind of addictions. Then it also shows large scale economic crisis. This is a very important thing. Why? Because Sun is second lord. We were discussing vernal equinox. Vernal equinox means Sun's position. Sun is second lord. Second house is the house of money. Second house is finances. Now Sun is in ninth house with Venus, Mercury, Rahu, Jupiter, and Venus are exchanging the zodiac sign. So this is a good Dhan Yoga. Agree to that this is a Dhan Yoga. So what I said, that technological advancement will be there, material prosperity will be there, it will be there. But ultimately, initially it will be there. Ultimately also it will be there. But the transition period which is going on, which will start, that will bring destruction first. Otherwise not. So in this case, it shows large scale economic crisis. Countries imposing sanctions upon each other, change in world economic order, big time recessions, sudden stock market crashes, bank failures, currency devaluations, rise in taxes. In India, we're already seeing that. Rise in tremendous taxes. And bubble burst, unemployment rise, major companies going bankrupt, large scale migration or refugee crisis, people losing their savings and assets and losing their jobs and businesses. That will be seen. That will be seen. Gradually it will be seen. And understand one more thing. It will be a slow recession. Saturn is a slow planet. I already told you Saturn's influence is there. So it will be a slow event. And later it becomes sudden. Sudden means it was going on in a slow process gradually over a period of time. And suddenly something triggers it to a much more, or escalates it to a much more worse situation. That kind of thing. So that we can expect. So finally growth or material prosperity will be there, but it has to go through this phase of change. That is the problem. So economic crisis and issues which I mentioned on financial aspects can be witnessed. And right now we are already seeing this on a global scale. That is not, the condition is not really great. Then another point will be that since Ketu is destruction, like I said, Mars and Ketu are wars. They are wars. So here, until and unless the economy is not going to be impacted seriously, tremendously in a bad way, wars cannot initiate. Previously in history, wars used to initiate just because, like, okay, I have to gather some territory or impose my control or show that I am world power. That kind of thing used to happen. Not now. What will happen? The main thing will be money first, economy first. And that economic crisis will lead to internal destabilization of those nations, which will force global war-like situations as well. The wars can be cold wars also and conventional wars as well, where they are fighting with weapons and on fronts, that kind of thing. So full blown out wars can be expected over a period of time. Big border disputes, collapse of governments, civil wars, internal rebellions, revolutions, terrorism, big spying missions and espionage. All these things. That is what Ketu, Saturn in 8th house Scorpio, they represent that, everything. Another point will be that rise, people who don't have any capacity for self-awareness, I'm talking about them. So rise in anger. So transformation can be bad and transformation can be good also. So good transformation will lead to spiritual awakening. Bad transformation will lead to rise in anger, hatred, jealousy, vindication, control, sadism, violence, perversions, lust, greed, selfishness, corruption, vengeance in population, which will be ultimately destroyed. But like I said, it has to go through, because see, if some big change has to happen, population is going to be the people initiate changes, na. So they have to suffer. They have to your mind has to be built that way. Like World War II happened. People were impacted by Hitler's view so much. Right now they are not going to be impacted, but that time they were impacted so much that they supported him in his endeavors in which led to Second World War and big mass scale genocide and everything. So in the same way, I'm talking about that rise of such leaders, rise of such fanatic leaders can be seen, who are power obsessed, power hungry, and they are leading the nations into destruction. And some or the other way, masses are divided and they are knowingly and unknowingly supporting that kind of thing. Your mindset becomes that way. That is how planets impact, and that is how this chart shows it. Okay. Another point which I expect will be, there are certain countries which can play a big significant role in initiating these events. Number one will be China, and China will play a good and bad both roles. So when I said about the great technological advancements, China will be the number one country to play the major role there, contribute majority there. So in terms of technological advancements and everything in all the fields which I mentioned, China will be the number one country, because in China's case, they are running through that dasha. They are running through that dasha. They are running Mercury. Let me just open China's horoscope. If you can see, this is the China's horoscope. So what you can see here is that Sun Mercury, if you see that Ascension is falling on what? Virgo and Pisces. And where is Sun Mercury Ketu for China? In Virgo and Pisces, in the same Rashi. And China is running Mercury Dasha. So ninth house and Mercury are what? Intelligence, logic, reason, analysis, research, invention, all these things, great things. So technological advances obviously is going to be very high. But the problem is that Mercury is first of all combust, then in Papakartri, means between Sun and Ketu, and retrograde, and Mars is in Mercury's nakshatra. So Mars is a bad planet in this chart. So what happens that Mercury means wrong use of intellect, wrong use of technology if it is bad. So what will happen that in this case, China will lead to initiate these things. So they will play a great role in terms of modern advancements, in whether in any stream of science, but at the same time they will play a great role in initiating the destruction as well. Because ninth house is global affairs, so it shows that no matter what, it's going to be power hungry. It's going to be a nation which is going to, no matter what, they want domination upon the globe. That kind of thing can be expected. And Mercury is, like I said, it is a planet of trade. So first it will engage in trade wars, in economic wars, in financial wars, and then it will be territorial wars. And those territorial wars will be majorly over water, because of water impact, like I said. Water. So that kind of thing. So China, then next country will be USA. The USA, obviously, these are two big economies, biggest economies in the world. So but USA also, for USA also, if you look at the chart is Leo ascendant, and for Leo, Sun is falling. This equinox position will fall in 8th house. 8th house, and that is not a good sign. That is a bad thing. 8th house is big changes and ups and downs. So for US also, it's not going to be good. And US is running its Rahu Dasha. For Leo ascendant, Rahu is a bad planet. Rahu is in 12th house. Changes, transformations, again, same thing. Losses. So China and USA will play a very vital role. And other countries will be Japan, Israel, and Canada somewhat. India will be impacted. India will not initiate. India will be impacted a lot. Obviously, it will be impacted a lot. But we cannot be the initiators of anything. And we will have internal problems, a lot of internal problems, border disputes and all those things, obviously. But we will be impacted with these things globally, of course. So in this case, all the things which I mentioned, I explained. And one more thing, second house is family also. Like I said, Sun is second lord, second house is family. So family means Ketu and Saturn are destructors, separators, isolation. They represent that. So it can show that rise in family disputes. Rise in family disputes can be seen. Mutual coexistence between two people is becoming very problematic. People who are like I said, if you are somewhat religious, moralistic, spiritual, you will be able to handle, because that is what makes person, I'll say, it gives you depth as well as it makes you quite understanding. But generally, most population is not like that, so they will learn this the hard way, obviously. So it shows collapse of families, disputes in families, lots of fights going between people, like like your blood relations. They are fighting, parents and kids and husband and wife and brothers and sisters, everybody. So it shows a big collapse in the family structure as well. So these are the points. Only thing which I'll recommend will be that these things will be evident over a period of time. Follow the part of spirituality, dharma, religion, associate with God in any capacity, whatever you feel like. Move towards philosophical inquiry. That will help you to move through this part of transition in an easy way, and understand that it will uplift you certainly if you follow these things. Otherwise, the general aspects which were there, that I have already mentioned. So that is all from my end.
Yeah, Abhijeet, it was like very insightful. See, I just wanted to ask one question. Like the way you said this thing that the transition, everything happens, it goes through with the passage of time and something. So in this whole presentation, which I like the most, I have like majorly two questions, two doubts which I wanted to ask, which I'm sure a lot of the people in my community must be also having the same doubt. So when we say that destruction and all of that, so do we see it in a way that it's like the human created, like things are gonna come and create problem for us? Like there have been so many documentaries over where giving too much power to artificial intelligence, to the robotics, empowering them, like making them so intelligent could be harmful for us. Or when we say destruction from a yuga's point of view, it's like asteroid, it's like earthquake, it's like tsunami. So that's the first question. Second thing is, just because you are a researcher in this field, so the second question is, just because I got to know about all of this in a scientific, in a very scriptured, instructed way from you. So there is a thing called in YouTube internet, which is Bhavishya Malika. So is it something which also say and predict the same thing which we discussed, or is it a different field altogether? So two questions.
See, I'll answer the second one first. I have not read Bhavishya Malika. I have taken the source from the scriptures itself. Like I already mentioned, the books as well as the scriptures which mention these things. That people think that okay, where it is written. And read the scriptures; it is written there, and read the book. Compiled formulation has been given. Somebody has done great research. At least read and then understand that okay. Sometimes what amazes me is that people are so rigid in their perceptions that they think that they are right all the time, and they lack that capacity of self-inquiry, and they think that what has been written and said is set in stone. No, just see for your own self and see how it is happening. Let's suppose if you just witness the past century, just the past century, not I'm not talking about even going back way thousands of years, just the past century, how much we have come from what we have been before that. Just imagine. So, and we are not in Dwapar or we are not in Treta, we are still in Kaliyuga. So we have been rising gradually. Like I said, rise is already there, but the rise is not in the level of dharma. Rise is in the level of material prosperity and advancements in technology, and that has been there. But the rise in dharma has to happen, otherwise we cannot sustain in the further yugas. We'll destroy ourselves. So that is how it becomes evident. Now, the first question, I'll come to that now, that you mentioned about please repeat the first
Problems or
question.
destruction.
Problems or
Yeah,
destruction. So first thing will be that it
what
will
will be the
be
agent of that? What will be
all
the
the things
agent
which
of
I
that?
mentioned, all the things. It will be like everything impacting from everywhere. It's not like you are fighting war on just one front. You are fighting war all around you. All around you. Climate change is going to create big problem. Then axial shift is going to create troubles because of climate change. Then this large scale economic crisis that is possible, that can create problems. Internal rebellions, revolutions in the countries going on. Then employment or job losses creating a lot of problems. Then countries having such fanatic, narcissistic, idiotic leaders which are going to
Leaders.
lead their nations into wars and deprivation. That kind of thing, that is possible. Then celestial events, asteroids or meteors or comets, they are impacting us in a way, not directly, because if they literally fall upon us, everything is going to be destroyed. Not like that. It's like that, impacting in an indirect way, and that is going to create a lot of problems for us. So that kind of thing can be seen. So it's, and the sea life, which I said, the sea is going to create a lot of problems. So it's going to be a situation like the natural calamities which I mentioned, everything. So it's like issues coming, you are attacked from all the ends. It's not just one thing. It's just not just one thing. And on a personal scale also, destruction of families, like I said. Person is growing isolated. World population is increasing, but you are isolated. You don't have anybody to speak. You are totally alone. That is what Saturn and Ketu are. No matter how much technologically advanced you have become, you have lost the touch to the normal human being around you. And that is what Saturn and Ketu are. And we are going to increase that in further transition. So on a mental scale also, it is going to create a lot of troubles. So you just cannot say that, okay, it is going to be from one area. It's going to be from everything. And that is how
Yes.
it shocks you. It shocks you. It shocks you. It shatters you. And then it throws you into air in a zone of unknown. And it forces you to analyze that, okay, what the hell I'm doing here? Is this the reality? Is this the way I'm why I'm here? That kind of questions will start to come up, obviously, in those people's minds who have that capacity to even ask those questions. Not everybody has that. So that kind of
Yes.
thing we will see.
Nice, Abhijit. I actually loved the whole presentation in a very sequential way. We will definitely do another part to
Mm.
it. And just because you mentioned, like at a time when we were scheduling and planning this Zoom session, you mentioned this thing that Nipun, I'm doing more research. I'll be adding more slides to
Mm.
it, and we'll be more like we'll be very excited to witness the second part of this. And yes, for my community members, Abhijit is a great astrologer. He has been there in even in social media, and his research goes way long back. So even if you want to get in touch for consultation, for classes, any guidance, all the links of how to get in touch with Abhijit, his platform, will be mentioned in the description of this video. And yeah, Abhijit, thanks a lot,
No,
and
my
thanks a lot
pleasure.
for sparing your time
My
today.
pleasure.
Dhanyavad.
It was a great pleasure to talk to you.